Family, welcome you in celebration of Black History Month to Youth Empowerment, the year 2000. Are we ready? Are we ready?
Yes.
I can't hear you. Are we ready?
Yes.
All right. I'd also like to thank you for your patience in waiting for us to set up. We were a little late this morning, and you were very courteous and patient, and I'd like to thank you, and I'd like you to give yourself a round of applause to kind of warm up this gymnasium. My name is Arlene Parker, and I'm on staff at the Center for Women's Development here at Medgar Evers College, and it's really wonderful for me to be here to see and to share this event with all of you, especially since all of you are under 30, and so am I. Anyhow, our first session is going to be very provocative. We hope that you will listen carefully to what the panelists have to share with you and that you formulate questions. I do believe that you will have an opportunity to ask questions. Of course, we're running a little late, so we're going to try to get right to it. And if you have questions, please assert yourself, stand up, identify who you are, address the panelists, and say, this is a question I'd like to ask, okay? So we're going to get started. But before we get started, I just want to introduce the panelists to you and tell you a little bit about what session 1 is going to cover. Excuse me. Session 1 is going to address the issues that impact on family and the health of families in our communities. The theme is called Rites of Passage. And within that theme, there are some other concerns. The concerns around teenage pregnancy, teen fatherhood, parenting, interpersonal relationships, the state of our wellness both physically, spiritually, and mentally, things that impact on our community and have devastating effects on us in terms of our health, such as AIDS, the drug abuse and drug epidemic, nutrition. I'm sure many of you are concerned about your nutrition as I see young people going to school eating potato chips and drinking those nasty little 25-cent juices that turn your insides green. So we're going to be talking about nutrition. The impact of social and economic issues, manhood, womanhood training. Those are the things that our panelists, a very distinguished group of community activists and leaders, are going to talk to you about this morning. I'm going to introduce the panelists, and I'm going to start with Dr. Abdulla Adesenia, who is going to join me at the podium right now before we begin session 1. Dr. Adesenia represents the Mayor's Office of African American and Caribbean Affairs, and he's going to set the tone for today's symposium by presenting a proclamation on behalf of the Honorable David Dinkins.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Good morning.
Good morning.
Very glad to be here this morning. And on behalf of the mayor, I'd like to read the following proclamation regarding African American History Month. Proclamation. Whereas African American History Month is celebrated throughout our nation each February, this observance was founded by the renowned scholar and historian Carter G. Woodson through the Association for the Study of African American Life and History on February 7th, 1926. And whereas during African American History Month, we study and document contributions and achievements of African Americans throughout our country's history in all disciplines and fields, including medicine, education, business, science, sports, the humanities, and the arts. African Americans have played an integral role in shaping the history of our city and the history of our nation. And whereas African Americans have built strong community, religious, cultural, and educational institutions that continue to sustain, educate, and encourage people of all ages. And whereas African American history is a time of reaffirmation as well as a time of celebration. It is a time to reflect on the progress that has been made and on the inequalities that remain. It is a time to encourage people of all ethnic backgrounds to realize their potential to produce, to invent, to achieve, and to excel. Now, therefore, I, David N. Dinkins, Mayor of the City of New York, in recognition of the important role of African Americans in the gorgeous mosaic that is our city, do hereby proclaim the month of February 1991 in the City of New York as African American History Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adesenia. I'm going to introduce the moderator for this morning's first session. She is, and let me get her name right, Lomas, who is with Young. Introduce her and have her come to the podium right now. And learn a lot from each other. Right now, we're going to discuss several topics here. We're going to go into the rites of passage. Many of you are not familiar with the rites of passage, but
At the table. Okay. All right, I'm going to sit down. I've been asked to sit down, so I'll sit down and talk to you, okay? Great. It'll be on. It'll be on. Is this better? Yeah. Okay. First of all, I'd like to say Assalamu alaikum. Peace. Good morning. I'm glad to see all of you beautiful brothers and sisters here. I really hadn't expected to start off with rites of passage, but let's get right down to it. Medgar Evers has offered us the opportunity to talk to you about something very, very important. You, the youth, the young people are the most important resource that any people feel strongly about their youth. They prepare them not only for most of us have heard or seen the movie Roots. And in the movie Roots, the young man, Kunta Kinte, went through a preparation period called Rites of Passage. This Rites of Passage program that took place hundreds of years ago was the responsibility of the elders of the community, the village council, the parents, the mothers and fathers. This Rites of Passage program was a program to train young boys to be men and young women to be women, and how to raise families and to move from the level of life struggle to the... I want to read an ayah from the Quran. And you know, Kunta Kinte was a young Muslim youth, and but the very creator of the world told everybody, mankind, that we are responsible for certain rites of passage. Now, what is a rite of passage? A rite is a ceremony or a group of events that put brothers and sisters in places where they have training. Kunta Kinte had to go out into the jungle and hunt for a lion. He had to show his strength. He had to show his fortitude and his faith. And he had to come back along with other brothers and sisters showing that he had successfully completed the training and was a man. In the ancient African cultures, all of the men and women were ordered to take care of the young people. Right now we have high percentages of crime among our young people, and we recognize that if the elders of the village do not take care of their responsibility for rites of passage, then other forces take over. The rites of passage among our young people, because we, the adults, have failed to provide adequate rites of passage, are such things as drugs, teenage sex, drinking, negative things that young brothers think that they have to do in order to prove their manhood. We, however, are proposing that every community, every parents' association, every church, every mosque begin to commit themselves to the task of establishing rites of passage for brothers and sisters. There was an ancient Marley griot who told the adults in these words, "We, the adults, are the memory of mankind. By the spoken word, we bring life to the exploits and deeds of kings for younger generations. We, the adults, are the repositories which harbor secrets many centuries old. We, the adults, must provide direction for future generations. Our youth must be directed by us." And so in New York City, in Chicago, and other places, there have been groups of parents, groups of people from churches, groups of teachers who are addressing the task of organizing rites of passage training for young people. I was a member of a group of parents who did such a thing for young Muslim children who went through a preparation of approximately a year. And at the end of that year, they were ready to accept the responsibilities of adulthood. It appears that we are going back to the reality that rites of passage is very, very necessary for not only the community, but for young people. Let us look at some of the statistics which show us why our young people need a rites of passage program. The statistics are chilling. We know that in the African American and Latino communities, the percentage of high school and junior high school dropouts is appalling. In Newark, New Jersey, on the 21st of April, there will be a group of people talking about the crime and how it has impacted on the African American male. This crime can be prevented, in our opinion, if we have rites of passage intervention by the brothers and sisters who are living in the village community, who are living in the town, who are living in the areas and who care about the young people. As I said before, the statistics are very chilling. Not only is there an increase in the rate of pregnancy, but there has been a proportionate number of increase in the dropout rates of young brothers particularly. Young sisters and brothers are dropping out at a very, very high rate. And it has happened because there has not been any intervention that has been actively pursued by the members of the community. Because of the high rate of crime, we talk about black on black crime. Where are those who intervene together and give and share information to develop rites of passage. I also propose that this rites of passage mandate be implemented by mosques, churches, schools, institutions, and interested adults who know that we can save our children by implementing the rites of passage. The gang activity that young people participate in is an alternate kind of rites of passage because we have no programs going. If we look back to the days of slavery, where we were on plantations, the reasons why we were able to survive was because the adults of that plantation community were interested in all of the children. We were battered and bruised, maltreated, misused, despised, ostracized, but we have been survivors because of the adults and their intervention in the rites of passage program. I understand that I'm limited to just 10 minutes, and so I will close out and say to the adults especially that we must begin to organize, we must begin to mobilize, we must begin to create and intervene by getting information about rites of passage programs. Right now there are several. At the end of the program, when you have questions, we will talk about the procedure, exactly what happens in a rites of passage program. Thank you.
Hello? Okay. Thank you, Sister Leah Kareem. The reason why I started off with rites of passage is because, you know, all of you out here, y'all don't know how to be men and women yet. And to be men and women, you have to go through rites of passage. Because when you get older, you're going to have a family. And you have to go through something to teach you how to have a family. You don't know how to take care of yourselves right now because you haven't been trained, most of you. So you have to go through something called the rites of passage to learn these things. You have to learn how to be a father. You have to learn how to be a woman. Because you're not having babies and sex, that's not how to be a woman. You have to learn how to be a woman. It's funny, huh? Because I said the sex word, but all of y'all must have heard it somewhere along the line. It's not cute, and the flirtation is that, you know, you have to learn your rites of passage before you can be a woman. And as far as women and men, you will eventually have a family. And in the family aspect of it, I'd like to introduce Sister Lisa Strickland, Mrs. Strickland, and she's from an organization called the Warriors. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Strickland, and as she said, I'm from the Warriors Organization. I'm a youth member of the Warriors Organization, so I'm not much older than you guys out there. I just recently got married July 14th of last year, and within that marriage, I gained a stepson. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the importance of marriage, the importance of raising your family, and the importance of children having a two-parent family at home. Okay, to begin with, family is something very important, and I feel as a minority, and all minorities should feel that family is their most asset in their life. Without family, everything falls to pieces. I mean, if you notice, if something goes wrong with your mother's life, it affects you. If something goes wrong in your father's life, it affects you. If something goes wrong with your sister's life, it affects you. And if something goes wrong with your brother's life, it affects you. So a lot of us out here, instead of dealing with that problem, we run away from it. And people tell us that, you know, our problem is that we have no unity, and that is true. But to deal with the unity problem, we have to first deal with the family, because if we can't unite with our own family at home, how can we unite with strangers out in the street? Sorry, just a minute. Okay, I'm a little nervous, so I don't have that much to say. But I'm sure all of you are aware that there is a problem with family. So many of you are afraid to go home and talk to your mother about your problems. In turn, you go talk to your friend who, in fact, don't know much about what your problem is as you do, you know, and a lot of us are afraid. So we end up getting misinformed about what we should do next because we go to someone as least experienced in the matter as us. So therefore, I think we should sit down and we should like organize our lives and realize that it's not all about being afraid, and it's not all about just going around having a bunch of babies and thinking that we're grown because we had a baby, or thinking that we're grown because we made a baby. Because the real test is when you have a baby, you make a baby, and you successfully raise the baby. And that in turn will bring a new generation of better people and a stronger generation of better people. Thank you.
Sister Strickland raised a good point about the family and how it's a center unit, because if you don't have a good family structure, or if you can't turn to your parents, literally your lives fall apart. And it's your parents who mold you. You have to respect them, even though at times you may find it hard, or you may, because you got on punishment, you don't want to talk to them, you have your little attitude. It's all right, all of that is cool, but you got to maintain respect. And with the family, you learn a lot of things about yourself, like your health. And health is very important, because if you don't eat your breakfast in the morning, I know if I don't, I'm tired all the way through the day, and I'm like, God, when is lunch? When is lunch? When is lunch? Because I can't concentrate if I don't eat my breakfast. Because I'm sitting in the class and talking about, oh my God, when it's 12 o'clock. And that's not, if you don't have your wellness, your health, you can't do anything else. So I'm going to introduce a sister who's going to talk about our health as far as what we eat, and AIDS, and mental health, because if it's not all right up here, the rest is also going to fall apart. So I'm going to introduce a sister, and her name is Dr. Rashida Abdulla. Sorry about that, sister. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum and peace and greetings. I hope you don't mind if I stand up. But I have a message for every single person in this auditorium, in this gymnasium today. A very important and dramatic message. Whether you are 10 years old or whether you are 60, I pray that you will listen well to this. Wellness means not being sick. And we know that in the African American community in this country, African Americans are very sick. We have the highest numbers of cancer, and we die from them. We have the highest numbers of heart disease, hypertension, diabetes. Our young babies being born die at a higher rate than others in this society. They call it infant mortality, and they also suffer from low birth weight. I know that all of you have heard a very simple statement that by many people is considered the key, the most important thing to our health. And that is this one little statement. You are what you, what's the last bit? Eat. Okay. Why is that so important? Our bodies function off of our food. And what is happening is people of African descent in this country have been removed from eating the way that we used to eat in Africa and in other countries, and we now eat very polluted, degenerated food in general. What do I mean by polluted? Let me give you just an example. How many of you, I don't want to do this just to point out numbers, but how many of us here have had hamburgers and frankfurters in the last 2 weeks? Just raise your hand. Let's just see. So, all right. Keep your hands up, and add to that, how many have had at least French fries a few times? All right. We just about got almost everybody. Thank you. Let me just tell you about those 3 things and understand what we're doing. Hamburgers are made of sometimes beef, pork, side products, plenty of chemicals, plenty of pesticides, because the cows that they make them from are fed hormones to fatten them up to go to market. They're fed chemicals that cause cancer, and we eat this. The frankfurters have substances disease. In short, we have been eating a diet of death instead of a diet of wellness and life and health. And it's very simple to convert to a diet of health. I want every single young person here to listen, because I know that when you go home, you're going to want to share this information with your family and your parents. What's a diet of good health? Very simply, for the brother here in the glasses, a diet of good health means eating a lot of grains. Grains are what? Rice and couscous and things like that, but mainly rice. All of you know about it. Another part of a good diet is eating what they call legumes or beans, which give you together all your proteins and very few chemicals. Another part of the good diet is eating green vegetables. How many of you like collard greens and kale and things like that, and broccoli and string beans? Okay. Okay. Very important, because if we can eat, now listen carefully everyone, if we can eat some rice and beans every day, if we can eat some green vegetables every day, if we can have a piece of raw fruit and perhaps a salad, we have eaten one of the healthiest diets on this earth, and a diet that helps prevent us from disease. We also are eating something that strengthens our immune system. Who knows what the immune system is? Anyone here? Immune. Have you heard that word? Yes, brother. What's that? Your inner body. What the immune system is inside your inner body is a system of cells and organs that help fight against bacteria and viruses and disease. So we want a strong immune system if we are to stay healthy. I want to relate this for a quick second to AIDS, because I know all of you have heard about AIDS, and there is the worst misinformation campaign in the world going on about AIDS in our communities. We have been taught that AIDS equals death. We know that there are many people who die from AIDS. We know that in New York City alone, the leading cause of death among African American and Latino females between the ages of 15 and 44 is AIDS. That's amazing. We have an epidemic on our hands, so much so that many of us sitting here today will probably get AIDS in the next 5 years. Many of us here. Where do we get it from? It's not just from the IV drug needles, it's also in the drugs. It's in the drugs. So we have to realize that when we're taking drugs, we could be taking some germs that give us AIDS. Where else is it coming from? There have been several books written regarding the spread of AIDS in Africa, and it has been documented that certain germs that were manufactured in the laboratory were put into the smallpox vaccine, and thousands of Africans were inoculated with the smallpox vaccine to prevent against smallpox, and at the same time they were given AIDS. So even though you may not be a drug user, you may not be into promiscuous sex, you may not have gotten a blood transfusion with AIDS, there may be many other ways of this disease reaching each one of us. So one of the keys is to keep a healthy immune system. Another key is to stay away from drugs, because it is almost well documented that the AIDS is in drugs. Another key is for us to rethink about our sexual habits. And we know that the African sexual habits was sex in marriage only. And that's a big test and discipline for a lot of us here. But if we want to be healthy, we have to think about this kind of discipline. The next thing is that we have been taught in the media that AIDS can be treated, quote unquote, with a drug called AZT. And AZT is one of only 3 approved treatments by the government. Last Friday in the New York Times, in the front section on the front page, research was relayed that AZT is virtually ineffective with people of African descent and Latinos. As a matter of fact, many people have gotten sick and died from AZT. So what do? There is an entire revolution and movement going on in this country indicating that there are many natural treatments to treat AIDS. Tomorrow there is a big conference up in the Bronx, at Bronx Community College, inshallah, dealing with all these natural treatments. In 1 month there will be a conference here in Brooklyn where many doctors and practitioners will share that information. I want to give all of you a phone number so that you can call about the conference, call more about the diets, and also if you need to, if your families want nutritional counseling or more workshops, please take out a pencil and paper and write this number. This number could actually help save somebody's life. Okay, let me give you this number. This number is please be quiet so I can share this. This number is the number to the African American Wellness Project. The African American Wellness Project. The number is area 718-271-8520. You can call that number in the evenings. The number again, area 718-271-8520. So the message in short that I want to share with you all is that all of you can convert to a healthier diet by cutting out and even starting with cutting out the McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, etc. menu. They're just a death menu. And if you read, excuse me, young brothers and sisters, if you read anything in any health magazines, you will find out that this diet is such a killer diet that is mainly consumed and sent into the African American communities at the quantities that it's sent in. I also want you to remember that there is treatment for AIDS, natural treatment that has been effective, and also that we must do things to change our behavior so we don't get AIDS. And that means we have to cut out the drug use. We have to maintain the use of sexuality within marriage and not outside of marriage. We have to be careful about taking blood transfusions and ask questions. And then we have to learn about the natural treatments and the doctors. How many of you here, oh, okay, I've got to end now. We're going to have a question and answer period later. I want to hear a lot of questions from the young brothers and sisters because this is something that affects us all. And thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Right now, what she said is very true. You know, a lot of y'all started saying, oh, no, not McDonald's, not Burger King, please. No, it's fact. It's like, all right, what the cow eats, whatever the cow eats, whatever they put in the cow, you eat. Would you like to be eating leftover food? You like leftover food? It's up to you. It's up to you. So whatever the cow eats, you're going to eat. If the cow chews its cud, do you know what's cud? The cud is its bowel movement. Then you eat. I'm not lying to y'all. I have no reason to lie. I'm not lying to you. I have no reason to lie. That's what you're going to eat. It's kind of funny and it sounds disgusting, but it's true. Right now, I'd like to introduce another sister who's going to also talk about, excuse me. Thank you. She's going to talk about more AIDS. She's going to get really into AIDS. And the sister's name is Dr. Edna Hestill, and she's from Medgar Evers College, and she's part of the Student Affairs Services.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, the person who said no, come down front and we'll talk. My name is Dr. Hastick, H-A-S-T-I-C-K, Dr. Hastick. And I'm here at Medgar Evers College in the Student Services and Student Affairs Unit. How many of you sitting out here have a relative who is in the war? War in the Persian Gulf. Okay, a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, an aunt, an uncle, someone, right? Okay, now, I have been asked to talk to you about alcohol, drug abuse, and AIDS. And you're probably saying, what does that have to do with my relative in the Persian Gulf? I will tell you. All of us know that if something happens in a family where a member of the family is either physically absent emotionally absent? Can anybody tell me? Clara Barton, what's emotionally absent? What does that mean? Philippa Schuyler, what does it mean? Junior high school, 383, what does it mean? You're not sure? Okay, let me tell you in the interest of time. Oh, here's a hand. Right here, tell me. Excuse me? Mental problem. Yes? Excellent answer. Yes, right over here. No love. Somebody else. Emotional disturbances like fights. Yes. Withdrawal. Okay. Now, all of these answers are correct. And by the way, every one of you, give yourselves a nice round of applause. You've been excellent. I want to just take a second to commend you and also your teachers, your guidance counselors, because you're very well behaved. Let me tie all that together with you in 5 minutes and tell you what it means. There are some of you who are sitting right here in this auditorium who have parents at home, a mother, father, grandmother, an older brother, older sister, uncle, aunt, whatever, who may have a drinking problem. Everybody knows it, but sometimes nobody talks about it. And that problem has to affect you just as much as the person who used to live in your home but who's now in the Persian Gulf. Because what that means is that your parent, the person who is responsible for you, is not as available to give you the love, the attention, the rites of passage, the right food, and all of the wonderful things, the family structure, all that you heard about this morning. Because alcohol, and I want to talk specifically about alcohol. Why? Number one, it's legal. I doubt that there's anybody sitting here in this auditorium with perhaps maybe very few who do not have some form of alcohol at home. Wine cooler, beer, yes, that's alcohol. It doesn't have to be the hard stuff in those big gallons, okay? And alcoholism makes people destructive, it makes them forget, it makes them irresponsible, and it makes them lose their capacity to respond in relationships. How all that affects you is that you may show up every day for class, your teachers may see you fall asleep occasionally, or they may notice that your hair is matted, your clothes are dirty. Does anybody here remember Lisa Steinberg? Yes? No? Yes? Who was Lisa Steinberg? Anybody knows? Okay, hello. Philippa Schuyler will tell us. Who was Lisa Steinberg? The girl that was killed, right? From abuse at home because her parents, among other things, were involved with drugs. And guess what? Lisa Steinberg went to school every day. Teachers saw her, right? Neighbors saw her, but they didn't know. We were not as aware then as we are now. So the message to you is, and I'm going to cut this very short. I had a nice half-an-hour presentation for you, but I'm going to cut it short. To tell you that if there is a problem at home, or if you yourself may be having wine coolers for lunch, yes, or you may be sipping some of your parents' alcohol, and then you add water to it so your parents won't know. Yes, it happens with the youngest child, it happens. All of you are very smart, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Or if your older brother or older sister, hello, may tell you this is our little secret anybody, or if a family member who is abusing alcohol or drugs may be touching you in places that are not right, you know it's not right. That's right. I understand the anxiety, and I know what the little hums mean. Yes. But if all of that is happening because of, hello, are you with me? Yes. Alcohol or drugs, and then somebody says to you, want to blame you for what happens, I want you to remember a couple of things. First of all, you are entitled to your feelings. If you get angry, if you get upset, if you feel lonely, if you get mad, you are entitled to your feelings. You don't have to act on them. Feelings mean you want to be part of the crowd. So sometimes your friends may say, let's stop off at the corner and pick up another couple of beers. We'll slip it in the backpack and nobody will know. And you don't want to do that because you've been told at home, don't do that, don't stop off, go straight to school. You don't have to act just because somebody else says that you should. And if someone tells you this is our little secret, you don't have to accept that. Then what do you do with that? What do you do with all those feelings that you have? What do you do with all of those family secrets? Let me tell you what I had to learn how to do. Both of my parents died before I was 8 years old. My mother died when I was 5. My father died when I was 7 and a half. I grew up on a small island in the Caribbean called St. Kitts. How many of you have heard of St. Kitts? All right. Okay, and Antigua, and Nevis, and Trinidad, and Jamaica. Oh, yes. Okay. I had to learn how to trust people. And guess what? You have to learn how to do the same thing, and it takes time. It takes time. And by the way, last year I graduated with my doctorate degree from Columbia University. You know why I told you that? Because I also told you that my parents died, right? And sometimes when parents are not available to little children, they feel abandoned. We feel bereft. We go through all kinds of changes. But I had to learn. I was raised by an older sister, God bless her, who taught me how to trust, who taught me about faith in a higher power that we called God. You may call it something else, but she taught me those things. So I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, I am saying to you as an adult that while you are young is the time to develop trust. Your teacher, your guidance counselor, the one who always says hello to you in the hallway. You know, sometimes you say, can I talk to you a minute? I am so embarrassed about this. But I have to tell somebody. Dr. Hastic says, don't keep it inside of me because it'll make me sick. And you talk to them. If it's somebody that's drinking at home, abusing drugs, if it's you that's abusing drugs, if you have an older sister who is 5 or 6 months pregnant and is hiding it and saying, don't tell anyone, you can't. It's going to make you sick. The world is full of opportunities for you if you live a healthy life, if you continue to stay in school, if you do your homework, stay away from alcohol and drugs, and find a responsible adult that you can talk to. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hesti. I also wanted to say something about drugs, the drinking thing, because she reminded me of something. Right now I go to Kingsborough Community College. I went to Virginia State University all of last year, and I had this dorm mate down the hall. She never drank or nothing, but one night she decided she was gonna go out partying and whatnot. She had a half of container of Cisco and a little bit of bottles of James. This girl came back. It touches me, you know, I'm getting kind of, she came back so messed up, all right? She couldn't walk, she couldn't talk, she was thrown up all over the place. She was out cold for at least about 25 minutes. We had to carry her, vomit and all, in her clothes down to the first floor. I lived on the 3rd floor. Because I knew she wasn't that type of person, but because she was out hanging, being cute, that's what happened to her. She was sick for 2 days. She couldn't go to class, failed her finals because that was finals week. She had to make up all them credits again, which is what I found out recently, because she didn't make her finals. And that's money. That's over $5,000, $6,000 down the drain for being cute. Do you understand the concept of what happened to her? I mean, I had to carry her downstairs.
I'd like to add that so many young girls are also raped.
Into the microphone, into the microphone.
So many young girls are raped when they're in this condition. So many are raped when they are drunk or high and taken advantage of and embarrassed to tell someone. So alcohol and drugs is not just a problem of being high and how it destroys your body. It leaves you vulnerable to being raped and physically abused.
Thank you. Now, you can manage, you can imagine this sister that I'm talking about in a state that she was just out cold. Imagine if there was a guy there that really wanted her or wanted to abuse her. He could have done so, but luckily she was in a dorm, and we were there to take her to her room. We even had to undress her and bathe her in the shower because she could not stand. So I'm just letting y'all know, this is not a game you're playing with when you get older. Somebody said, well, it ain't doing nothing to you. They're wrong and they're lying. That's all I want to say. Also extending into drugs, I'd like to bring out a brother, Nigo Pyle. He's a member of the Brooklyn Borough President's Youth Council. Thank you. He will be touching on also alcoholism and social aspects.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. All right. My name is Nigo Pyle. I'm a member of the Brooklyn Borough President's Youth Council. I'm also a senior at Brooklyn Technical High School. So I'm also part of your generation. And basically I'm going to talk to you from 2 points of view, not only as a member of your generation, but as a person who have experienced or will experience the impacts of social and economic issues. Some of the topics that I'll be talking about include racism, drugs, crime, illiteracy. They're very important issues that I feel should be addressed. Many things that you hear in school, outside of school, in your neighborhood, you get from peer pressure, telling you to do drugs, telling you to commit a wrongful act. But you should feel within yourself what's wrong and what's right, and go with that first instinct. If it says it's wrong, don't do it. Now, you may say it's easy for me to say that, but I've been exposed to peer pressure, and I've never buckled. And I'm going to tell you that because you're only giving in to the negative elements in society by buckling and committing these wrongful acts. And one topic that I'd like to talk about right now is education. Education is the key to all shackles and bonds. With an education, a person can obtain a good job, possibly in the fields of science, mathematics, engineering, or business. Advancement in these fields can rectify much of America's present economic problems, such as the $500 billion S&L crisis and our low export, high import situation. Now I mentioned the 500 billion SNL crisis. Do many of you know about that crisis and how it will affect you? Well, let me explain the SNL crisis. Basically, banks throughout the United States have given out bad loans, and it's come back in their face. And now many banks are out of business, bankrupt, and this has affected the economy. And you may say, how is it going to affect you? But many of you may see in your schools that many teachers are being laid off, that it's hard to find a job. There's an increase in unemployment. And for many of you who are college bound, you'll see that there's less financial aid available to you. Now, what does that mean? That means that you're going to have a hard time paying for your education. Now, with the scholarships and aids that are out there, many of us, Latinos, blacks, and Asians, and other minorities depend on that scholarship and aids to go to college because we come from low-income families that cannot afford to pay for college. And so it'll affect you devastatingly. The more educated people this country has, the more likely it is that a greater number of businesses and companies will be generated. These companies and businesses will create more jobs and in turn help the economy. Instead of a recession, which is what we're in right now, meaning a period in which there is no expansion in business or a decline, we're just at a standstill. And many things, a recession can result in depression or hopefully, basically an uprise in the economy. Contrary to recession, we could have a period of prosperity in which better social programs promoting literacy, helping the homeless, elderly, and poor could be created. Staying in school, it truly benefits you, all right? I mean, there's nothing glamorous about dropping out of school or being illiterate. It's not cool, it's not hype, nothing like that. Stay in school, get an education, you get a job. You make an earnest living. You earn much more money than the person who dropped out of high school, and you'll probably live longer. All right?
Thank you.
Wait.
Okay, continue.
One other issue that I'd like to address is racism. Now, racism is very prevalent in New York City. You may see it in your school, in your neighborhood. You'll definitely hear about it on the news. You hear about it in newspapers. Now, one effect of racism is an effect called oppression psychosis. And what oppression psychosis is if you have been showed racism, if a person has been racist toward you, that you will become aggravated or unleash some kind of hatred toward another race or another person, thus carrying on the cycle. And it's only deteriorating our race and this economy. It's not helping anyone. Now, when you're confronted with racism, the best thing to do is to pity that person that's being racist towards you. Look at them and try to help them. Now, you'll feel angry and hatred and want to hit them or start a fight or something. Don't listen to that because that's all wrong, all right? You got to help that person because it's only by helping that person that you can bring it up. All right? By helping that person, you're helping the economy, you're helping your race, you're helping the family. Racism has been present in this society during the days of Christopher Columbus and the European explorers in their new world. At that time, Native Americans were viewed as savage and unruly people. In fact, it was a lack of understanding and pure ignorance that brought about that belief. 500 years later, in the wake of wide-scale improvements in technology, racism still exists. It is no longer a single type of racism, but racism within races that occurs. We were able to put men on the moon, take pictures of Saturn's rings, and fit thousands of bits of information on a computer chip the size of a pencil eraser. And yet we are unable to find a solution to the problem of racism. Now, many of you may remember young Yusuf Hawkins, who was viciously attacked in Bensonhurst. He was with two other young men who were also black. Yusuf Hawkins was murdered because of ignorance, racist actions. can observe in neighborhoods populated with a particular race and ethnic group, many people fail to offer any feelings of camaraderie or empathy to those that are different in race. All right, so, well, I've been told that I gotta cut down, but what I want to say to you is that remember that one stick can be broken, but a bunch of sticks is harder to be broken. So stay tight to your family, respect your family, your friends, and those you love. Remember that a bond, a group of sticks cannot be broken. So form that group of sticks. Don't let anyone break that, and you will move ahead in life and not back, and no one will stop you. Peace.
Peace. Thank you, Brother Kai. He said a lot of interesting things about education, one in which you can work to get a good job, but also y'all got to think, maybe I could build my own job, maybe I can have my own store, because you need a lot more African businesses, Africans living in America businesses, black-owned businesses. Y'all don't have to work at IBM because you may not want to. You may want to own your own company. You may want to own your own this or that. You may want to own your own whatever you like to do. If you want to make music, be your own producer. You don't have to work for somebody. You can work for yourself and you can live prosperously like that. And finally, I'd like to introduce a brother. He was speaking early, Dr. Abdulla Adesenia, and he's from the mayor's office. And he's a co-founder of Children's Education Research and Development Incorporated. Please give him a hand and welcome him.
Thank you. Let me first say that as we have some other guests coming in, those who have been here since 10 o'clock before I got here, let me ask you to do one thing. In baseball, there's a practice. Come to the 7th inning after a good game, what do? Stand up, stretch, right? Everybody stand up and stretch a little bit. Relax a little bit. Stand up, stretch out. Feel better? I didn't say leave your seat now. It says stretch. All right, some of you are great. Let's sit back down and finish up here. My name is Dr. Abdulla Adesenia. I work in the Mayor's Office of African American and Caribbean Affairs for Mayor David and Dinkins. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you this morning. It's very special for me because I realize how important you are. Let me say that again. It's special for me because I realize how important each and every one of you are. You see, I know that you're at the turning point of your lives right now. How many of you are in the 7th grade? Raise a hand. Good, hands down. How many in the 6th grade? Raise a hand. How many in the 8th grade? Raise a hand. How many in 9th grade? Raise a hand. All right, I saw a lot of folks raise their hand 3 times. I know better than that. But here's what's important. My topic is manhood training and rites of passage. What we have to realize, and what my generation is realizing, is that for some of our own children, we missed the boat. We didn't realize that it wasn't enough to send them to school. It wasn't enough to get them on that track team or that basketball team. That it wasn't enough to encourage them to do the right thing because they were, excuse me, are you listening to me down there? Some of you are, but some forgot. Let me get your attention too, because this is important for you. We didn't realize that what their friends were saying to our children was more important than what we were saying. And for some parents, they said, listen to me, boy. Girl, didn't you hear me? But watch your mouth. But we didn't listen to what you were saying and what our children were saying to us. They were saying that, Dad, the pressure on me is too great. All my friends are doing this. Why have I got to do something different? Then we were coming to realize, and it's not just me, it's people across this country for the last 5 years, that we have to create peer pressure for the right thing. That's what rites of passage is all about. You've heard about good health practice. You are what you eat. But who teaches you how to get the right foods and who teaches you how to prepare them? You see, I saw the expression on your face when you were challenged to stop eating fast foods and hamburgers and hot dogs and french fries. You said, well, what would I eat? And it's a very real problem because some of our young people, if they don't eat there, there's nothing at home to eat. That's the reality of our life in the village of Harlem today, in the village of Weeksville or Bedford-Stuyvesant, in the village of South Jamaica. That's our reality. And so part of manhood training, and I focus on manhood training because I can only teach you how to be a man, as a man myself. I can't teach you how to be a woman. Women have to teach that. Now, about being a man, young brothers, I address this to you specifically. Manhood does not grow out of the barrel of a gun. That's not manhood. Okay? Tell you something else. Manhood is not between your legs. All right? Clear? Now, with those two things out of the way, manhood is not a gun, and manhood is not between your legs. Then what is manhood? Manhood is your mind. Okay, you hear me? All right. On the back of the wall it says two things. It says knowledge and power. But see, you have to be clear. What knowledge? For what power? Okay? The knowledge that you were created special and that only you, as human beings, can change the world. See, it's only the human beings that can make the forest disappear. Only human beings that can pollute the ocean. Only human beings that can create nuclear war. Only humans do that. But then it's only human beings that can rise above the angels in their best qualities. Okay? So you see where we're going now. Let me break it down. Rites of passage, manhood training, is the process of adults and other older young people, like my brother who just spoke, begin to show you how to do that. You do it together in small groups. You do it together in large groups. But the biggest key is that you realize that you do it together with love, with compassion, with strength, with understanding, with commitment, and with moral basis. Okay? You gotta be moral. Thank you for that. And I know I've got the message that my time is up, but I'm gonna take another minute. I don't get this opportunity very often. And I said, you're the most important people. Right now, between the ages of 11 and 15, the greatest change in your life is going on. The biological changes inside, the mental changes up here, the environmental changes. You are world citizens today. How many of you knew about Iran and Iraq before August 2nd? Raise your hand. Before August 2nd. Now, how many know about Iran and Iraq now? Everybody, right? Do you know that they can see what you're doing? If we had to hook up with a satellite, they could see you in Iran and Iraq right now in a split second. This is now a global village. That means that you step into the 21st century as global citizens. That means you're very, very important. You're the most educated people of color on the planet. You are. You are. That means you have an awesome responsibility. Manhood training, then, is a process for allowing you to step into that responsibility and hold it, to be in effect for real. Thank you for your attention.
Now that we've heard from all of our great speakers, I was privileged to be here. I'd like to ask any of you if you have any questions for any of us or anyone on the panel. Any hands, any hands, any hands? Young man in the green, I saw your hand. I saw your hand. Do you have a question? Oh, I saw your hand up, I'm sorry. Anybody? No one has a question? This sister over here has a question.
I have several questions. The first question I'd like to address to the sister on health and nutrition. I'd like for her to explain some of the things that the children consume every day that's poisonous to their system and what could they use to substitute for those things that they eat or drink that would make for better health
Good question.
Mike, you unplug it? Mm-hmm. You unplug the mic? It's not working.
Hold on.
The sister asked what we can do to substitute some of the bad foods. Of course, when we eat a lot of candy and soda, we're taking in so much sugar, maybe more than 100 pounds of sugar per person every year. 100 pounds. And what that does, of course, is clog up all our systems and gives us diabetes. So for the brothers and sisters here who want to do something to substitute to stay healthy, the natural source of sugar is fruit. The natural source of the sweetener is fruit and raisins and apples and oranges and bananas, and there are fruit markets and vegetable markets everywhere in our communities now, so we can buy and eat fruits instead of a lot of candy, and we can drink juice and some of even the natural sodas without the chemicals instead of the regular soda, because indeed the sugar that we are eating is killing us. And also in terms of our other food, instead of McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken, there are a lot of little restaurants in our neighborhoods, even if we eat out. Either little Muslim restaurants or Jamaican restaurants that serve healthy food. You can get a little plate of rice, beans, fish, vegetables that are healthier than our McDonald's, and just as, and usually much, much cheaper. So why don't I want to ask all of you, especially up front, to make note between sometime this weekend in your neighborhood, where are the Jamaican restaurants or Muslim restaurants that serve this food, and make note of the vegetable and fruit markets where you can buy your fruits.
Thank you. I see a question, this young brother right here in the red sweater, the red jacket, excuse me.
Come up to the microphone.
Lisa Strickland of the Warriors, is that where your question is directed to? What's the question?
I heard something about a class on some show on the radio about the class where you could take a class and you could see this concert from rappers from Rush Productions. I'd like to know where that is and the number.
That was different.
Valid question.
Excuse me, can you repeat your question?
Well, I heard something about a concert with rappers from Rush Productions, but first you had to take a class with the Warriors to go to the concert. I just want to know the number of where that is.
Okay, yesterday, the seminar for that was yesterday, February 21st. But if you want to, we're planning to do other things of that stature in the future. And the number for the Warriors is 213-4353. And in fact, the president of the Warriors is sitting right there with the black and white sweater, Kathy Wright.
I also see another question. The brother of the white t-shirt, please step forward. White shirt, sorry.
I have a question for Dr. Hakeem.
If you eat frank and hamburgers and french fries, do you get cancer on the long run or what?
Yeah. Okay. Excellent question. Because now we see cancer appearing in younger and younger people. So it's not to think that we wait until we're 60 and we eat a diet like this. You can have cancer by the time you're 20 years old. So what we say is just a message to think. The next time, before you eat, before you drink something, I want you to think about what it is before you put it in your mouth.
I see another question. I saw the sister here in the blue jacket. Could you please stand up? Maybe I can hear you better if you stand up. Don't be shy. We all the same in here. The sister in the blue jacket, if you please.
She said, stand up, stand up. Stand up. Thank you.
The quarter juices, the little nickel and dime sugar juices. This is the has some.
Okay, I call them chemical water. Because those little things, those little plastic things, make no mistake about it, they are not juice. They are water, coloring dye, and chemicals only. Nothing real in that, only chemicals that destroy our body. So skip on that and instead buy a natural soda or some juice, or if you're home, you can get some water, or if you have how many of you have ever heard of a thing called a water purifier? Okay. Okay, do you know what it does? It takes out what? Chemicals, lead. We got to start talking about saving our money in our families to get a water purifier, and I'm going to tell you a little something that was in the New York Times, because the water is bad that comes from our faucets. Last year, Robert Kennedy Jr., who works for an environmental group, published a story in the opposite op-ed page in the New York Times, and he was at one of the water treatment facilities for New York City, and after the water passed through the place where it was supposed to be treated, he saw human waste floating in the water. So we have to take care of what we drink, so let's start talking about some water purifiers or buying some spring water, because it has less chemicals and less negative substance for us.
Okay, I see the two questions over here, but still on this subject of the juice, an elder sister wanted to add to your question. Okay, the young brother in the green jacket, then his sister. If someone gets sick from the quarter juice, will there be a cure? That's a valid question. If you keep drinking something, of course it's going to go wrong, but I'll take this.
If we keep drinking and eating a lot of chemicals and pesticides and hormones, most of us do get sick. And as we know now, cancer is a very large killer in the African American community. And there are some natural treatments for cancer, but many of us wait until we are so sick that by the time we go to the doctor, the disease has eaten up our whole body. So the message is, if we start to have some pains or some aches or something happening with us, let's check it out early. And I'm going to tell you, in Brooklyn here, is everyone here from Brooklyn? Just raise your hand if you are. Okay, all right, for those in Manhattan, I'll tell you also, there's some wonderful African-American doctors in Brooklyn, like Dr. Ronald Davidson, who's right here on President Street, and he's a doctor that can help treat you with natural treatments. He also has an office in Manhattan. Also Dr. Kukayi, and all of these doctors are listed with information either in your telephone book or dial 411. So there are treatments, but we have to get to doctors early before we get very, very sick. Thanks.
And also about the quarter juices, if you find yourself getting sick, don't drink it anymore. And another natural way of getting rid of the stuff that's in you is through cleansing your body, laxatives. That'll get it out of you. It may sound kind of, but you gotta get it out one way or another. And there's his brother here, his sister rather.
So she'll see you.
She goes next. I saw her.
Oh.
About how can she find more information about the rites of passage since she has younger brothers. There's also rites of passage for sisters too. There's a book called Transformation, and there's another book called Her Story, and that's for sisters. And as far as males' rites of passage, there's a book called Bringing the Black Boy into Manhood. And what else, Sister Akila?
Right now in Brooklyn and in Manhattan, there are several groups who are conducting or about to conduct rites of passage programs. What I will do, if you'll see me at the end of the period, at the end of the period. At the end of the session is to give you some information about those groups. In the meantime, young people should ask their churches, their parents, any organized groups to contact some people about getting information and organizing rites of passage programs. I'm going to let Dr. Adesenia speak, and if you want to call me about more information, the number is 718-638-9335. You can ask your parents or your teachers or any organized groups about how to get organization information for rites of passage. Dr. Adesenia.
And for more information about rites of passage, you may contact me at CERDI, that's C-E-R-D-I, CERDI, stands for Children's Education Research and Development Incorporated. The number is 718-776-1848. That's C-E-R-D-I, CERDI, 776-1848. Area code 718. Thank you.
This sister, and I believe after her, I'll only be taking about 3 more questions afterwards.
He had his hand up.
Yes, this sister right here.
How do you feel about President Bush going into Kuwait and trying to liberate them when South Africa is still in apartheid?
Her question was, how do we feel, any of us up here, about President Bush going into Kuwait instead of going into South Africa and liberating the South Africans?
Personally, I feel that it's a contradiction. I think it's a very intelligent question. I am very happy that someone from among you is asking that question. Why should Bush go into Kuwait when there are problems here in the United States? Why should Bush send us to Kuwait when he vetoes a civil rights bill? I want you to keep up that information quest and think for yourself. There is a contradiction and hypocrisy in democracy that you will have to discuss and share information about. It's a problem.
I'd also like to respond that the situation with Iraq and Kuwait goes back a long time, and Kuwait was actually a part of Iraq. It was part of that country. And once again, the European powers, Britain in particular, snatched that part away from Iraq because it had a lot of very important and rich oil. And they said, we're going to take it away from you, set up some people to control it so we can get the oil at very cheap prices. And we know that Iraq has been bringing up this issue in the United Nations for at least 10 years, and the response of the United States has always been, it's an Arab and a Muslim problem. You settle it by yourselves. But all of a sudden, when they built up Iraq to a major military power, they now said, you are too powerful. We are going in to destroy you, even though we have always said it's an Arab and Muslim problem.
And also on a small level, so that you can understand what it's really about. You know, some of y'all in Iraq, and it may be a little over your head, but just to break it down real small, they're having a problem. It's like you, your mother, and your father having a problem in your house. And the police just come from out of nowhere and saying, we're going to break this problem up. That's your problem. You have to solve it yourself. That's the problem between Iraq and Iran. They're having a problem. The United States is playing police, going over into somebody else's land where they don't belong, trying to fix it up. So that's just on a lower level so you understand the basis of it. This younger brother right here had a question.
Excuse me.
I'd like to add one other point before we go on this issue. It's a global issue. And the issue is much more than just Iraq and Kuwait. The issue involves control of oil, and oil being the important element for industrialized society. It has to do with how wealth is going to be distributed for the 21st century. So don't be confused by the media issues and the surface issues about suggesting it's merely in a family battle. It's a battle of Western powers, of which the United States is one, for control of resources that belong to the third world, for the people of color. So that's why I said you're the most important people, because if that's going to be changed by anybody, it'll be changed by you.
Okay, I've just been informed that we're pressed for time, and I had allotted that this young brother to speak, but he had spoken before, so the sister in the back, which I had acknowledged her earlier on and let her speak. Sorry about that. The 49-cent sodas, is it funded by the Ku Klux Klan? Is that your question?
That's an excellent question to ask. I don't know whether they are funded by the Ku Klux Klan, but surely the people who are making profits off of our bad health. So like this sister asked this question, hopefully 10 years from now, some of the brothers and sisters in this audience will have businesses to produce good, inexpensive natural juices and natural food for the entire community.
Okay, thank you, and we really appreciate all of you coming here, and we appreciate our guests. And in your packages, you received something that stated, my commitment for the next 6 to 12 months is, because we'll be seeing each other again within the next 6 to 12 months. And, you know, you will have to fill this out, and we just want to know that you have a solid commitment, whether it's to be, excuse me, thank you, whether it's to pursue your academic career and do really well in school, or if you just want to, if your little commitment is, well, I may not want to eat French fries for the next 6 months, that's all right. All of that is cool. Make a commitment, fill it out, and we'll see each other in the next 6 months. Thank you.
Just a minute, please. The program is not over. Many of you have come with your teachers now. We need to know how many are staying for the rest of the sessions. I also need to have, hello? Everyone can't talk at the same time. So we need to know how many people are staying for session 2.
David from the Black Consciousness Movement, which is a youth organization. Abu Obiako from Yahweh. And Yaya Sagadi from Yahweh. And the sister over here, Yashida Abdul Hakim, is going to be speaking on draft and the military, which is something we should be concerned of right now because, as you well know, we're in a war. So I'd like to start this off with the sister, Malaika Lomax from Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
Good afternoon. Most of you have heard me, moderate before. This time it's a little different. I've been talking in length about something, but I'm going to let the sister go first.
Assalamu alaikum and peace to all of you. In this morning's session, one of the students asked a question about the whole situation in the Persian Gulf. And specifically, I want to address the issue of how this has impacted on the African American community and especially the young brothers. As you know, the force in the Persian Gulf that has come from this country has been a volunteer force. That is, people have volunteered either in the armed forces or the reservists, and they were not drafted. How many of you know what a draft is? The Army draft, okay. So they volunteered to go over, and then they volunteered, and of course they volunteered to go into the Army because the Army and the Air Forces would have you promise great training, great benefits, great everything, because of course there are so few jobs out here, and so many of the brothers were actually driven into the service. They didn't go because that was their first choice, but a lot of them went because it was their very last choice. So coming out of a situation with no jobs and a lot of poverty and drugs, what do they go into? A situation where they can easily be killed. So in essence, really, it's no choice. And what we have found is, even though the approximate percentage of this society is about 13 to 15% African American, what percent of the African American brothers are on the front line fighting? How many of you know that? Tell me if you know. What percent? Anyone? Okay, it's estimated that between 70 and 80% of the front lines, the ones who are most vulnerable to be killed first, are African American and Latino. So we have a disproportionate number of our brothers who are liable to be killed in a war that has nothing to do with us at all. Now, how does this affect you as young brothers? And I'm going to talk about the females here too. In the high schools and in the neighborhoods, you have the presence of military recruitment centers. And they have a program called a deferred entry program. And that means that they try to entice you into signing up for the Army before you graduate from high school, and then when you graduate, you go in. Now, you have to sign up if you're under 18 with the permission of your parents. But a lot of young people think that once you signed up, it's binding. It is not. You can change your mind. If you decide that you don't want to go after you have even signed up, you can change your mind, and you can write a letter to them telling them that your situation is different. You no longer want to go into the Army. This is the volunteer Army, of course, and you don't have to go. That's very important because last year alone, $2.7 billion was spent on recruitment for the armed services. $2.7 billion, that's a lot of money. And we know that of the forces that are in the Persian Gulf, 90% of all of those young brothers were recruited through the delayed entry program in the high schools. So this is a very big program that they try to talk you into in every way possible to signing up so you can, instead of living your life here and doing what you have to do, go someplace else, shoot or kill other people of color, and very possibly die. So that's not an alternative for life for us. Of course, we're not talking about a situation of defending ourselves because we're attacked. We're talking about aggression on other people. Now, where does a brother get help if he wants, let's say someone who has, signed up for deferred entry and wants to change their mind and needs some help? Where do they go? There are very few places in the African American community, but the good news is that there are at least 2 or 3 what's called draft and military counseling centers that are in their developmental stages. One of the places that any of you can currently go to is a place called the Black Veterans for Social Justice. And they're at 611 Fulton Street, downtown Brooklyn, near Lafayette. You can go and get help if you feel you've changed your mind and don't want to go. This is if you're volunteering. But what if they reenact a draft? A draft means this is not volunteer, you have to go. And with the exception of deferments. So if a draft call-up is inactivated because there's a draft law now, 1 out of every 6 brothers who are sent a draft notice actually does wind up going. And a draft notice means that when they send it out from the local board, from the date of that notice until you have 10 days to go into the Army. 10 days. So you may get the notice after it has been sent, 3 or 4 days later. You may have 5 or 6 days to get yourself together. What if you are not eligible for a draft? And not eligible meaning, what if you have a serious drug problem or a medical problem, or you're the only person taking care of your mother? Or there are a number of other circumstances. You object to fighting in a war because you object to killing people for no reason. And you have a very strong ethical or moral or religious position. These and other conditions will allow you to get what's called a deferment. That means that you can be deferred and excused from going into the draft. In order to do that, you have to have your paperwork to document this. Once again, you can go to a draft counseling center. You can either go to the Black Veterans for Social Justice, or there is a draft counseling center up in Harlem that's being opened at one of the masjids, and I'll give you a number there, and get help. So this is a very real issue for our brothers and sisters because the way that things are set up now in the Middle East, there are a lot of tensions and potential for many more incidents to happen. What about women? Women say they've always been exempted from the draft, right? Well, guess what? There's a medical services draft that's on the books. It's already been planned out and structured. It's just a matter of time as to when it will be announced. The medical services draft includes men and women who work in any medical capacity, doctor, technician, nurse, etc., between the ages of 25 and 45. And you can be drafted under this medical services draft. So once again, if you have the reason for a deferment, you go to a draft counseling center, look in your newspapers, the City Sun, the Amsterdam, the Village Voice, Big Red, places like that that will probably advertise. You go to some of the bigger churches, you call WBAI radio, FM radio that has that kind of information as to where you can go for a draft counseling center to help you. Currently, in the Persian Gulf or in Iraq and Saudi and what have you, 1.3% of all of the forces that have been sent from this country happen to be Muslims fighting other Muslims. So they have a particular issue that they have to resolve. Everyone else in general who's over there who doesn't want to go has to resolve the issue of being made to fight and kill or be killed for a reason that has nothing to do with them. I know there are a couple of questions, and could I just respond to the question? Yes. Okay, when you're 18, you have 30 days, 30 days from your 18th birthday to sign up for your draft card. By law, you have 30 days, period. You can sign up at the local post office, what have you. If you don't, technically you are breaking the law. But according to some of the people at the War Resistance League, very few people have been prosecuted for not signing up, but it is clearly illegal. If you do not sign up, the Solomon Law, the versions of parts 1, 2, and 3 are there to punish you if you don't sign up and have a draft card. So under the Solomon Law, if you are a male, 18 and over, and want to go to college and get a federal grant for your education, you will not be eligible for a federal grant for your education if you don't have a draft card. You will not be able to get paid job training like JTPA if you don't have a draft card. So if you have issues and problems regarding this, I urge you to go to a draft counseling center to talk with someone to get assistance. The center I mentioned before is the Black Veterans for Social Justice, 611 Fulton Street. Another center is up at the Mosque of Islamic Brothers, and they specifically at the mosque deal with brothers who are conscientious objectors to war, do not believe in going to fight and kill in a war that is not of a defensive or other important nature. I can give you a phone number for the mosque for the conscientious objectors. If anyone is interested, that number is in Manhattan, 212-662-4100. Make no mistake about it that all of us here, male or female, if you're a male, you by law have to register around the time of your 18th birthday. If you're a female, you may have a brother, a cousin, or a close friend who is drafted to go off somewhere else and to kill or be killed, having nothing to do with their own lives. So this is an issue that's very important. Again, remember the deferred entry program in the high schools. If you are talked into joining the armed forces, you do not have to go, even if you sign the papers. Go to a draft counseling center to get some assistance. Thank you so much. I just wanted to share this information. And also, tomorrow, there is going to be an all-day training session on military law and draft counseling in Harlem, up at Adesenia Baptist Church on West 138th Street. So if you're interested, tomorrow from 10, I know you're shaking your head because it is a very difficult situation. And as I said, if you don't, it is considered illegal and something that you can be prosecuted for. And although there are a small number of people who haven't signed up, the repercussions for African Americans are very heavy because you can be found guilty and put in jail.
Okay, we'll take one more question.
Yeah.
Sister has to go. She's on a rush.
Yes. If you're in jail, can they take you out of jail and put you in the war? No, being in jail supersedes going in the war. But what they often do, if you have some pending litigation, you're in court and they're going to sentence you. Let's say they found you guilty for something. What a lot of judges do is ask you, do you want to go to the jail term that they give you, or do you want to go into the army? So they are using that as an alternative punishment. Thank you very much, Assalamu alaikum.
All right, thank you, sister. That was a very needed speech at this time because we're in a time of crisis and brothers have to know how to get out of that situation that they're thrust into by this government. All right, next we're gonna have Sister Malika Jones speak. She's from the organization of Yahweh.
Can you hear me? I'm going to make a statement. It's leading up to black on black, as they say, black on black. Black is not a nation. Africans versus Africans. Black on black crime. And what we notice is that we don't love each other. We have a problem with each other, and I'm just going to prove this to you. You show me one of these people over here who has been thoroughly brainwashed and has a negative attitude towards Africa, and I'll show you one who has a negative attitude towards himself. You can't have a positive attitude towards yourself and a negative attitude towards Africa at the same time. To the same degree that your understanding of and attitude toward Africa become positive, you'll find that your understanding of and your attitude towards self will also become positive. And this is what the white man knows. So they very skillfully make you and me hate our African identity and our African characteristics. You know yourself that we have been a people who hated our African characteristics. We hated our heads, we hated the shape of our nose, we wanted one of those long dog-like noses. You know, we hated the color of our skin, hated the blood of Africa that was in our veins. And in hating our features and our skin and our blood, while we end up hating ourselves. Now this self-hatred, this was quoted from, this quote is coming from Brother Malcolm X Malik Shabazz. And he made this statement because we don't like each other's self, and in not liking each other, we will fight each other. Because if I love myself, believe you, I'm not gonna hurt you. I have no reason to hurt you because I look just like you. So it makes no sense, all of this black on black violence. And you know it's coming deeper than what the media say it is. They say it's drugs, they say it's money. That all has a role play, but in essence, it's all about self-hatred, self-denial, trying to look like somebody that don't like you, trying to be like something that you're not. You have to get back to yourself, get back to your own roots. Once you can love yourself, but you can like yourself, you won't have all these little problems. This is where the problems are coming from. So, you know, this is what I want to get into, knowing yourself, knowing about yourself. Because if you know yourself, you don't try to be like somebody else. And you leave everything else alone and you take care of you. And I'm just going to hand it over to the other brothers who will speak further on black violence.
Thank you, sister. Okay, the next brother to speak will be my brother Yahya Sagidi from Yahweh organization.
Thank you, my brother. My name is Yahya Sagidi, which means God's gift who has the strength of 1,000. You may think that's powerful, but I think we all possess that power within us in this room. So don't make it seem like we are gods up here, because we're just as much as, you know, everybody who's sitting in the audience right now. Like the sister was saying, you see like Oprah Winfrey, and you see a lot of people out there talking about black people ain't this, black people ain't that, right? And on Oprah's show, she has white women trying to get big black lips. Now, white people always been talking about how black people ain't nothing. You ain't this, you ain't that. You ain't this, you ain't that. But the white women always wanted the black men. You know what I'm saying? They always wanted the black men. The white men always wanted the black women because they considered the black woman a goddess. Her beauty and her features, they seen her as a goddess. They seen the black man as a Samson. His muscles, his body. Look at Michael Jordan. Look at the way they adore him. You ain't see no white person who don't know Michael Jordan. You don't see no white person who don't know about MC Hammer. Oh, that nigga could dance. Oh, he could dance. Oh, he could do this. Oh, he could do it. He could twist. He could twist this. He could twist that. They sweat him. And You see Vanilla Ice. You see Vanilla Ice with his long Pinocchio nose, you know what I'm saying? With his long Pinocchio nose, trying to act like he all that. Got, all his dancers are black. You notice that? All his dancers are black. You know, and they wear African garments, you know, and different things like that. But we came here to talk about something deeper than all of that. We're talking about brothers who are out there killing each other and why they doing it. You know, and I asked some brothers the other day, I was like, yo man, yo, you got a fly BM, you know what I'm saying? You sporting it, kind of hype. You know, you live in the projects. Your house ain't even all that. You still be sitting on cardboard boxes and shit. You know, your house ain't even all that. So what's up? He's like, yo man, you know, I gotta keep my woman satisfied. You know, I gotta buy the sister this, I gotta buy the sister that. So I said, yo, why you gotta be all about that? Then I went to the sister. I said, yo, what's up? You know, don't you know that you shouldn't be letting your man do all these things for you? Because first of all, your man ain't never got his life straight. And first of all, he might not even live to be another 2 years old, you know what I'm saying? He might be dying probably in 1 more year because he's selling drugs. She's like, he gotta do for me. He gotta do for me. He gotta give me this. He gotta give me that. I said, yo, sister, I was like, yo, don't you understand that the brother right now is in a lot of problems? You know, black men are in deep, deep problems. The sister was talking about earlier that at the age of 18, black men gotta sign up for the military. That's right, they gotta sign up. But the sisters don't see that the black brothers are in jeopardy. Because first of all, the majority of men out there are either in jail or over in the Middle East. So when the brothers in the Middle East die, and when the brothers in jail stay in jail, who are going to take care of you sisters? Who are going to take care of you sisters? You talk about how you hate your African man, how brothers are this, brothers are that. They ain't nothing but niggas. They ain't nothing but niggas. You ask any Chinese person, you ask anybody from Korea, you ask anybody from Europe, they'll tell you, oh, they know that their name has a land base to it. There ain't no such place called nigger land. There ain't no such thing. You African, whether you believe it or not. You take a German shepherd and put it in Europe, it's still gonna be a German shepherd. You know what I'm saying? You take an African person and put them anywhere in the world, you will be African. You go to Japan, they'll tell you, oh, they go to African man. You identify by the color of your skin. And this is a war between the white man and the black man. The woman is just a pawn in the game. Whether you believe it or not, you sisters may be here, oh, I go to work, I do this, you know what I'm saying? I get my money, I do this, I do that. But most of the mothers in the society are raising young men. Most of the single parents in the society are raising young men. And any brother who knows this, who lives in the projects, and who is over here, when you get to be a certain age, your mother cannot control you if there's not a man in the house. You tell your mother, yo, ma, yo, I'm going to the store, right? I'll be right back. I'm going to the bodega, I'll be right back. You don't come back for another 4 hours. What your mother gonna say to you? Boy, get your head in the room. You know what I'm saying? She can't really say nothing. She can't put no strap on you because you get into the age where she can't do nothing about what you're doing. And the brothers gotta realize, yo, they out there, everybody they know is selling or doing something illegal. The brothers cannot get a job. The sisters say, yo, I don't know why they can't get a job. Let me tell you why they can't get a job. Because of the sisters. The sisters don't realize that when a sister gets a white man will hire a sister before she hires a black man. Because first of all, he's getting benefits of you are a minority. And second of all, you are a woman. So he's getting 2 for the price of 1. So why should he hire a black brother? You heard Kiara said it, love's gonna get you. You know what I'm saying? I go to get a job, I get dissed like a jerk. You know what I'm saying? Brothers can't get a job. And they be like, oh, my man can't do this for me. My man can't do that for me. What is really a man? I always wanted sisters to identify that to me. What is really a man? Is a man somebody who could always provide, or is a man somebody who could take care of your family? You see people from Africa, men from Africa, coming over here, selling peanuts and taking care of their family. You gonna tell me that's not a man? That's more of a man. You see, you sisters don't realize your purpose in the struggle. It's time you start going to work and let the man stay home and start taking care of these kids. I'm not playing, it's serious. If the brothers can't get a job, yo, it's time you go make the money and let him stay home. I don't know no brother who cannot stay home and take care of no kids. The majority of brothers I know be babysitting. You know what I'm saying? They mean the projects babies. Yo, what you do? Yo, I gotta babysit my little brother. Yo, why you can't come out outside and play ball? Yo, I gotta babysit my little brother, man. Yo, my mother said that. And what the sisters be doing? The sisters be in the house, reading, or out there doing their hair, or doing something. You know what I'm saying? Or getting their weave done right. And they what? You know what I'm saying? That's right, you be cooking and cleaning. That teaches you responsibility. The brothers have no responsibility. They go out there thinking they're gonna get a college scholarship, thinking they're gonna be Michael Jordans. But unknown to them, the white man is probably gonna let 10 out of 100 of them into the NBA or into anything. You got brothers out there buying 9mm because they want to protect themselves against the other brother. You got brothers out there shooting each other because this one stepped on my sneakers. Yo, you dog my dogs. Oh, why you pushing me, man? I remember about 5 years ago when brothers were fighting off of Adidas and Pumas. Brothers were running down the street grabbing each other's sneakers. Wearing the big lead patches on the side. And you know how conditioned black people are? Watch this, what's this? There was an advertisement that VIM did, right? They said that for every 100 lead patches you win a VCR. Brothers were running down the street, snatching lead patches off of people's pants. Now you got brothers wearing 8-board jackets. 8-board jackets. Time for some side shot in the side pocket. What's this nonsense? Time over some stupidness. And they're not even the real 8-ball jackets. The real 8-ball jackets cost thousands of dollars. Getting some no-frill jamming. It's all materialism. Let me tell you something. You go to a white school, those people wear the same pants every day. The same pants every day. You go to their houses, you know what they got? Antiques. Dating back thousands of years that worth thousands of dollars. I know kids who live in the projects, they wear hype clothes every day. They be having, they be having the slamming gear, man. You go to their house, they ain't got one piece of furniture in their house. Their mother ain't even got a bed. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about it is that, yo, you have to start identifying with yourself. And brothers need to stop shooting each other over some nonsense, over some 8-ball jackets. That the next one is going to take from the next one, and the next one is going to take from the next one. Peace.
chill. If anybody got any questions for this brother, because I know y'all is, you know, hyped up over his speech, you know, you feel free to ask him. Sister in the middle, go ahead.
I don't think so. I don't know nothing about that. But I know they're not the real jackets. The sister over there said yes.
I mean, you people have to think about it from a logical aspect. They're trying to see how much they can, how far they can try you. You look at your sneakers, Reebok Punks. You know, they cost all about $10 to manufacture. They charge y'all $150 for it. You know, the highest style out now is Shetland jackets. Shetlands and 8-balls. Sherlins. You see, I don't even... Shetlands, it's trifling. But check it out, check it out.
Person, they say Shetland.
Yeah. So you got Sherlin jackets, check it out. You got Sherlin jackets, and then you got 8-ball jackets. They say, yo, let me try, let me see how stupid y'all are. Now they got Sherlin 8-ball jackets, and y'all are buying those up like it's the hypest thing. You know, y'all have to look at things from a logical aspect. They're trying y'all, because they know y'all are all about fashion. You gotta get out of that type of cycle.
Any more questions?
All right, y'all, calm down. All right, does anybody have any more questions from the brother? All right, then okay, brother in the hat on the back.
It's another coat, a Colombian coat.
Colombia.
The Colombian jacket.
Is that how you talk, man? Hey, yo. You in
What about it?
You better get out of here and start acting like you're...
Yo, that's your brother.
Is that how you talk?
You're saying that they're also fighting over the Colombian side.
Yo, stand up and make your point, man.
Yeah.
Come to the mic.
Thank you. Yeah.
They fighting over the Colombian jackets too.
So, what do you think about that, man? You just bring that point up to what? What's the point?
What he said?
Yeah, they paying the same much for the 8-ball jackets, pay for the Colombian jackets, and they... Yes, they is.
Yo, brother, y'all gotta have respect, man, straight up. So what you saying, man? Is that was the point you were saying? So how you feel about that, man? Quiet, y'all. Quiet.
They shouldn't be wearing an 8-ball jacket. They shouldn't be wearing the Colombians, the Sherlins too.
Do you think you look better alive or dead?
Alive.
Do you think the girls will be sweating you alive or dead?
They'll be sweating me alive.
Thank you, didn't answer your question.
I would want to be alive.
All right. All right. And one of the things on the brothers that be stealing that, man, they ain't got no heart. They have no heart. Because you're in a poor community, they're robbing somebody who they know is poor because they live next door. You know, why, if they're gonna rob somebody, why don't they go to a rich white community and rob some white person? Because Exactly, because the police protect the white areas. And plus, they're punks. The people who are robbing people are suckers. They ain't about nothing. They're about self. Sister over there.
True indeed, true indeed.
But he wasn't saying it to that effect. He was saying. But I understand what you're saying. But after that, he said it's because he's trying to give a comparison that. Yeah, but he's not really saying that. He's saying that the police is not protecting the black neighborhoods.
See.
Yeah. Who said that? Oh, sure. Oh.
Hello, I'm going to put things in perspective. The police department does help in the black communities, the Hispanic communities, as well as the white communities. I'm not saying that every single thing they do is perfect, but they do their job. A number of our brothers and sisters are incarcerated, but that is not the police department's fault if these young people are doing the wrong things. I am not saying that the police department is beyond reproach, but every time something goes wrong in our communities, we want to pass the buck. We want to point the finger. Point the fingers at the deterioration of the family. If our kids had good role models, probably starting in the home, our job as educators would be much easier. The police department's job as law enforcement officials would be much easier, and a number of other people's jobs would be easier. So we can't point the finger at anyone but ourselves, and we have to take up the slack. Now, we have black police officers. I'll wait until I have your attention, because I was listening to you quite closely when I was in the room. No, it's not about that. It's not about that, okay? We have black people in the police department, as well as we have white people in the police department. My husband is a police officer. My brother-in-law is a police officer. My father-in-law is a police officer. And my brother is a corrections officer. And I know that when they do their job, they do it to the best of their ability. And they don't have the underlying factor, let's lock up the black man. But they have to do whatever their job, calls for. And I resent the fact that every time something goes wrong, the police department, because that's not the problem. The problem is our young people are not doing what they're supposed to do. And we need to stop passing the buck. And we need to work with our young people and let them know what is expected of them and try to have them live up to those expectations instead of passing the buck.
All right, chill, sister. All right, now, I'm sure someone has a very good response to that. Go ahead.
I don't want to get into long dialogue with the sister, because I think what causes us to have the position that we have is the conditions. Conditions start from the top and they come down to the bottom. I think that we have a drug problem in our community, that the drug dealers on the corner are just a very small and minute part of the large picture. You understand? I'm from the Black Conscious Movement, and our slogan is that death to the crack dealer. And when we say death to the crack dealer, we do not mean the brother who's standing on the corner, because him too, he needs to realize exactly what he is doing. But what I'm talking about is John Gotti, and them people in Colombia, you know what I'm saying? And the system, what it does is it has a very negative look at young black men in our community. We are the jail system. There would be no jail system without us. I think that the police are also a part of our problem, because Your family may be a police officer, but he does not give orders. He takes orders. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, sister, and let me tell you something, sister. Let me tell you something, sister. When
Your sister, let him respond to the questions you asked. Sure. Sister.
All the way up.
Sure.
I'm not going to focus on the brother. I'm going to focus from top to bottom. If you pinch the bottom, then, you know, it still comes down. It still comes down.
Sure indeed. Sister, I understand your aggravation, but the brother let you finish your question when you had your chance, so let him give his reason and explanation.
You know, all due respect. I mean, I have the utmost respect for you and what you're saying. But we got to understand it's a larger picture, you know what I'm saying? We can clean out our community, but after we clean out our community, we must stand guard and make sure it doesn't come back in our community.
I also wanted to address the sister. I understood what you said about the family being an important part of it. We addressed that this morning with the right